Good afternoon, Danvers. Welcome to the Topics of the Town News. This is the December 5th, 2019 show, which includes John Toomey as my co-host, Mark Zuberek, myself, and Matthew Duggan as a co-host. The Topics of the Town News reporting is direct and comprehensive. Our stories are in-depth and present stories that no other news media wants to report or tackle. We will always report only the truth, sometimes with our opinion. However, it all depends on our access to information from Town Hall and the agencies. Today's first topic, I just want to bring people up to date on Topics of the Town programming update and recent stories. We will be talking on the classification of a tax rate. Our reporting has been viewed by town government as slanted or channeling reporting. The only stories they like are the ones planted by the town management because the town government is not so transparent in presenting the current and future issues very well. Taxpayers and voters are not working for the selectmen are working for the residents. The taxpayers represent the bank account that they are liberally spending. Revenue is not the problem, the spending is outrageous right now. First story we have is, we have a clip number 1, which is the medical marijuana facility that has been located in the town of Danvers per the acceptance by the Board of Selectmen. We do not have any recreational marijuana sales, but I went to the facility, which is in the industrial park, Electronic Avenue, I believe. Yep. And it's number 2, tucked away way in the back, but it's facing Route 1. I went to see what the facility was about and who was running it. Well, I interviewed 2 individuals that gave me access to the desk at the front of the operations. You can't go in to the back, but we may be able to. But I spoke with Brett Boyer and Michelle Martinez, who are designated as the Patient Care Advisors, PCAs. The operation is not as small as everybody thinks. What I was told after interviewing these individuals is that 15 to 20 employees locally are employed there every day, whether they are manning the phones, dispensing the marijuana in various forms, and they need, the individuals that come to the facility need a medical marijuana card. And this card is given by a prescription by a medical doctor, and what they call this is a CANNA, C-A-N-N-A, care direction. So Danvers currently, what I was told is, it's reported, is that we have 20 to 50 residents or customers of the pharmacy. Basically, that is treated as a pharmacy, pharmacological facility. So that's...
What do you mean 50?
20 to 50 customers that come in.
Per day?
Well, I think it's per week.
All right, per week.
And they go in with a prescription written by a medical care
But
doctor.
you're talking about thousands yearly.
Well, annually it would be thousands, yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I had a hard time finding the place. It was so tucked away, and it was right next to Route 1, right down by the transformers that are out there. And
It's
is
off Route 1, is it? Or?
right off of Route 1. Electronics Ave is the facility, and it's number 2 down there. So I just wanted to see what the facility was and interview the individuals. So very nice people and very secure area. I just hope the town manager doesn't send the police after me when I go into a secured area again. The other issues that I wanted to bring up, and is basically water and sewer garage. Water and sewer garage, clip number 2. Water and sewer garage and the office building is proceeding. We have been banned by town management from reporting on the progress of construction to your, for our viewers. I wonder what they're hiding, but I believe the costs are within the limits that have been established a long time ago. So that is the garage. Now it has windows, and we will ask permission again because I don't want to be arrested by the chief of police for entering. That's from the back of the parking lot.
Is that soil, that pile of dirt, is that from on site or is that from over on Brown's Pond?
Don't know. Supposedly the Browns Pond dirt has been removed before they started the foundations.
Okay.
So that may be commingled with the existing excavation that they've had.
Yeah, I ask because if it has contaminants in it, it should be covered.
Well, you know that I know the drill. I
okay.
demanded that at the time when it was staged over there. So now, what I like to do is move on to story number, clip number 3, and we have a very good response. On November 26th, Topics of the Town hosted a forum for town meeting members. The forum served as a platform to explore the several questions that authorize our legislative body to find out why they ran for the office, what are the responsibilities of their office, why do we have the town meeting, and what can the town meeting members deliver to the town government. Next clip, please, number 4. We have a group picture. Here are all of the members that volunteered to discuss the issues of town meeting because they feel that they deserve to be heard. And at least on our show, we were talking about what are the capabilities of town meeting.
That was a good meeting.
Absolutely, and the thing is that we have been requested to hold this forum again, and we will possibly run it before the special town meeting that's scheduled for February 10th.
Well, they came up with an idea to form a group that would have discussion meetings with citizens.
Well, I've also been asked, and maybe we can deliver, is to have a town meeting forum for interested town meeting members at the Toomey room and have them just bring up their issues. We are the legislative body, and Matthew and I are both town meeting members. You are no longer town meeting member, but you have been town father for a long time. So what I think, that's what I've been asked is, can we have a general invitation to the public, to the town meeting members that are interested?
Well,
And
that's one group that seems to me to be ridiculous because they're probably the biggest lawmakers in town, and yet they really don't have a public meeting with the general public.
Right.
And they should. It gives, I've talked to an awful lot of people who would like to have the ability to ask questions to town meeting members.
Well, then what I think we need to do is maybe first part of January, we need to formalize this and send out a general invitation to any town meeting. And I have a whole list of the town meeting members and to the public. Let's just have it. And that's something that's important because as you and I have been saying, John, for years, is this town is run by 200 people. And town meeting members are a very integral part of this government. And recently, in the last 10, 15 years, it has become a quiet voice at the annual town meetings because we have delegated our responsibilities to the Finance Committee, to the Board of Selectmen. And as you saw at the classification hearing, is that the town meeting voted for all this money to be spent. Absolutely. But the thing is, that is a selectman's budget, not our budget. And we have to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, but Mark, the town is run very well.
It is?
One of the major problems, or two of the major problems, is how they spend their money and where they get it. And that's, unfortunately, people in town must be doing fairly well, living-wise, because they're not complaining.
There's a lot of apathy, John. The issues are not grave enough to be brought up, except for the story that we're going to next. I mean, there were, at the selectmen's meeting this last Tuesday, we had 900 signatures on a petition that was delivered. So, John, take over the story. This is...
Okay.
Clip number 5.
Clip number 5. And this is the presentation of a over 900 signature petition to basically rezone the town and allow, to me, pets, P-E-T-S, to be in residential areas. I don't see the difference between any of these animals out there. If you have an animal and it is a member of your family, in effect, there are hundreds of people out there who have service animals that, because of their health, they have the animals which help them health-wise. And there are, God, how many thousands of people have pets out there? And all of a sudden, we designating them as non-welcome. Well, let me just start this. The Riesling family, the owners of 2 pets. They've had them for over 8 years. And a situation arose that there was a complaint, and it reached the building inspector, and the interpretation of the bylaws and the zoning district for that residential 1 area is you can't have farm animals. And the goats are designated as farm animals, therefore they're being told they have to remove the animals. To me, this is ridiculous. The animal is basically what it is used as. If it's on a farm, it's a farm animal. If it's a pet at the home, in the home, it's a pet. But as I say, the Riesling family brought in a petition of over 900 signatures. So there is a definite feeling for the goats. And a loud crowd showed up, a loud crowd plus a large crowd showed up at the selectmen's meeting, and they presented the petition to the selectmen.
Now, John, this was a rewarding sight because people took control of their own destiny. And these individuals, Brittany made a very appealing and very faithful presentation of what she has encountered. She has basically encountered this process for over a year. A year ago, or 9 months ago, this issue was brought to the Board of Selectmen. They heard it, and then they dropped it. So, go on, and that's
Well,
the next issues are coming.
Getting out of the emotions for the moment, the pets have been on Hobart Street for over 8 years. And it's rather interesting that you can't have the goats there, but the next street over, you can.
It's across the street.
Well, okay, it's zoning, and it's also interpretation of the zoning. It's interpretation of definition of farm animals and pets. It gets to be all, let's say, political. It's how someone decides what it means. And, well, it gets to the point, as far as I'm concerned, someone decides whether it's a pet or a farm animal, and that's how it takes. And I hope that this eventually will get to town meeting and we can make a change. They have to make some changes with the health board regulations and so forth. But this is all politics, and this is how politics work. You have to get involved, and this is what the Risley family have been doing. And obviously, over 900 people signed their petition. People backed them up. So there's one other thing that I would like to bring up. And Bill Clark, Selectman Bill Clark, Farmer Bill Clark, I'd like to congratulate him. Yes. He has offered sanctuary to the goats. While this is all going on, if they're forced to remove the goats, he is offering an area that they can bring them to. And that was nice. I don't know which side of the topic he's on, but it's nice that he offered the sanctuary for the goats.
John, the Selectman Bill Clark, the farmer, has made a very passionate appeal for the town governing body, as the Board of Selectmen, to forward this small change that they all have to do is on a table that has to define goat as a pet instead of a farm animal. And I was proud of Bill. I don't know, usually Bill and I disagree on many things, but this was a passionate appeal to the Board of Selectmen who sat there and they listened, but they haven't done anything. Basically, what we were told at that meeting is that the town manager, in his great wisdom, told Aaron Henry to drop the issue about the goats because it would take too much time to get to the town meeting in February. And it's timely to have them do the right thing for the residents.
Well, I think this is a good example of a selectman, a voted selectman, doing something for the good of individuals in town. And as I say, I was very happy to see this.
And also, just to add another log to the fire, this health department hearing and all of that is totally a smokescreen to delay this thing to the annual town meeting. This does not belong at the annual town meeting. It belongs at the zoning town meeting in February that we're going to be discussing next. So, Bill, congratulations. I just hope the other three wake up and smell the roses about the residents in this town and protect them. That's the end of the goat story, but we seem to have beavers, we have goats, we used to have chickens at one time. So it's all about animals, but the most important fact is now is we have a, and I'll call it what it is. We need to stop the charade of tax classification, rate setting, and ask the business or income producing properties to pay the allowable by law of 150% and admit that the business is contributing to our residential tax revenues. We are no longer a small, quaint town. We have grown up and need to face it. Residents need help to cut taxes. So if we go to clip number 6, this is a summary of what transpired at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, or the public hearing, for the classification, which is, it's a misnomer. It's a rate setting of the real estate taxes. We started off with a assumption, and this was proposed by a couple of the selectmen, is equal increase for all. So what they went to is a factor of 1.447 with an increase of the residential tax rate by 12.85% and the commercial industrial by 12.85%. After this rate was debated, it was voted in and adopted at this local fiscal year and signed by the selectmen on a form that has to be submitted to the Department of Revenue. It was all rubber stamped. Next clip. Note, at the concluding comments by the Board of Selectmen, which is an hour after the original vote was taken, there was an error. Selectmen second bite at the tax rate apple. They went down to a factor of 1.40 because the tax rate went down to 9.2% and for residential and 9.2 for the commercial and industrial. This was again voted in and adopted for the new rate without any consideration for the residents' rate of and debate. Clip number 8. Well, on Wednesday, the following day, Town Hall finally discovered that there was another major error. Town Hall's third bite at the tax rate apple remained, the factor remained at 1.4 because they think that they voted on it, and I don't think they did. And the residential rate went down to 3.2 and commercial and industrial went down to 3.2. This was never debated or voted in and was then submitted to the DOR for the new rate without consideration or debate. This is an unofficial rate increase, and this was never debated at open meeting. Next clip, please. Now, I could read this. This is big. This new tax rate setting should be an embarrassment to the town selectmen and the residents. The error indicators were there and no one caught it. Common sense did not prevail. This process has been in existence for 25 years. The tax rate increase has never been over 5%. I believe at one time it went to a 5% increase, but it's always been between 3 and 4 or 2 and 4. And in this case, it should have been 1 and 3 with the factor of 1.447. The tax rate setting should go for a vote and reconsideration of the classification factor. Our residents, taxpayers, deserve a break. We already tax to the max with every penny spent. When will we learn? We need an innovative and responsive Board of Selectmen and town management team that can address these issues once and not go for multiple bites at the apple. Thank you. That's all I have to say about the tax rate.
Let me
Matt?
just throw a quick, all right.
Go
Matt?
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, all right.
I'm good.
I think the main factor here that everyone out there should be thinking is every year, the past 11, 12 years, the tax rate has gone up consistently. Up, 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 up. You keep paying more money. Why? Do you know what they're spending it on? It gets to be ridiculous. The major problem here is money. It's where it comes from and how it is spent. And they're spending it because the people it's coming from aren't complaining. They aren't looking at what's going on. Get out, find out what's going on, and do something. Yours.
Matthew?
Yep, I think you're right. It's every year we're spending more and more money. It's we've taken on a lot of projects over the past few years. New Smith School, repairs to existing schools, repairs to the town hall, new addition on the police station. So those all have impacts on the need to increase revenue, the size of the revenue stream. So,
But the thing is that we need to live within our budget. We have a limited capacity to increase the real estate tax rate or taxes because there's a lack of support and assistance to our business community. The tax classification is not relevant to the growth and expansion of employment in our community. We cannot or should not rely on the ongoing expansion of the proposed zoning changes and the impact that these developments will have on our tax rate and tax collections. There's a limited amount of money, and the town hall needs to learn that there is no more. And the thing is, when these rates came out, I sat there and I just shook my head. How greedy can you be?
Well, we're spending an awful lot of money on nice projects, but not necessary projects. And one of the problems is going to be, in a very short time over the next few years, with the rates that it's costing us, or going to cost us, for schools, roads, new buildings.
DPW garage that they're talking about?
Well, we keep spending it, and we keep raising the tax rate. At some point, and I think you're going to find it's going to be a lot sooner than they expect, we're going to run out of money.
Well, John, the situation in town and in the state and in the country is that we have full employment, we have plenty of money. The problem is not the revenue, because we're collecting all of the taxes, excise taxes, meals taxes, all kinds of different fees and penalties that we charge our residents. However, we do not look out at, can we afford to do some of the things that they're planning?
Well, God help us if we have a depression and if people's salaries and income decrease.
Well, the last selectmen's meeting at the financial summit, there was a statement made that basically 4 items on the budget are going to consume the $80.6 million that we as ratepayers pay in taxes. 4 items, and they're all in retirement, they're in health services,
Schools?
schools, that's right, and there was a fourth one, and I can't
I think it's
remember.
pensions.
And pensions, that's right.
The OPEB.
So what are we doing? At least when, and I hate to say this, when Wayne Marquis was in the seat of the town manager, I always spoke up about overspending and cutting the budget. Well, he at least optimized the positions in the town, optimized the expenses that are included in the budget. Now it seems like every way you turn around is we have a director and a manager. So the thing is that we have to realize that this is not a free-for-all, this is not a cash cow that the residents are becoming.
Well, I think the property values at some point in the near future will plateau because the middle class cannot
Afford.
Yeah, they can't afford some of these homes that even typically in a middle class neighborhood, blue collar neighborhood, the price of those homes has just been well over $500,000 for many properties.
We have to make an effort to call our Board of Selectmen, our town manager, and the directors that we have in town that time is to economize and refrain from spending every penny that we have.
Well,
We have no rainy day fund. We have no reserves. The only thing that we do is free cash, which is an expansion of the budget because that's where the money is buried. And at the end of the year, we spend everything that's in free cash, and we've been carrying free cash in the $4 to $7 million a year, and all that is spent. We have to start being more frugal. And one thing that I want to do is, you know that we have these wonderful boxes for Christmas presents, but look at this, they're empty. No tax revenue. So, thank you very much. Now, we have the next item is yours, Matthew.
okay, so I wanted to give everyone an update on the overlay initiatives that are going to be at town meeting this coming February. It involves an overlay for the Maple Street commercial one and the 1A zone, and also for the High Street Industrial 1 zone. So these overlays will allow residential in addition to what's there today. The attempt is to have residential on the second and third floors of many of these buildings, and then have commercial on the first floor. And that's in recognition in part that there's a lack of affordable housing, and that this change in zoning will bring more people into the downtown core area because...
Yeah, but let me just throw this in. You talking about affordable housing, there's only a requirement of 10% for affordable housing. Isn't that true?
That's correct. From
So no
one
matter,
census to the next.
90% of the affordable of the housing is going to be non-affordable.
Well, you have to define what's affordable, and everybody's talking about affordable, but they don't know what it means.
I think it's 30% of your...
They're hoping
Your
it's going
income.
to be very affordable.
Well, it's not going to be all affordable. I mean, there's a certain percentage. So I think it's 20% of any new
Right.
residential units would be classified as affordable. And that's kind of a moving target. I think maybe for a family of 4 would be around 60 or 70,000. So it's not low income housing because that was mentioned at a meeting last week of the planning board. It's not low income it's affordable. So there's a difference there. So at the Board of Selectmen's meeting this past Tuesday, they voted to refer this new zoning bylaw to the planning board for a public hearing, and then to move that forward to town meeting in February. One of the comments that the selectmen made was that they wanted to focus on the Maple Street area, that they were concerned about the impact that this overlay would have in that commercial area. But for me personally, I think High Street is more, it can have a greater impact on what's there today. So if you look at, for example, 75 High Street, which is between McDonald's and the Verizon central office, there's Jimmy's seafood, and then in the back there's like a large open lot. So that area, especially any lot that has a single-story structure, those aren't using the property in an efficient way. So those could easily be demolished and then replaced with 3 or 4 story townhouses, apartments, condos, what have you. But we're talking about...
What is the requirement for parking?
Well,
the
that
park
was a discussion point.
Practically none.
For 40R, it's, I think, one unit for each.
1.5 per unit.
But for what I heard at Tuesday, at the Tuesday Selectmen's meeting, that the planning, the land use department is not going to go after 40R. So that doesn't look like it's in play at the moment.
Can I explain that a little bit? I asked for a copy of the letter that they received in regard to the 40R application. And what I was told, and I tried to get the copy of the letter, I know it's there because I looked at it, it's a rejection of the application for the $600,000 that they were being bribed with for imposing 40R, which is much more congested and much more restrictive than the current zoning. So I will get the letter and we can talk about it, but there's also a planning board meeting that's coming up. I don't know whether it's next week or the week after. I think it's next week.
There is one next week. Yeah.
That's right. And that one is a public hearing, because now that the planning board has received the zoning that they have prepared, the zoning regulations, now they have to go to the planning board and let the public have a say in what is really required. What the important piece, and I don't know if you want to talk about it or I can talk about it, is that we have one planning board member that expressed his displeasure with the way this process has been going on, and the congestion and traffic and parking. Traffic, he's totally upset, and this is, I think it's Nate Sears, and he should be congratulated because he's the only one out of that planning board that has stuck his head out and said, hold it, let's find out what did we do with the hot wat corner of the properties, and then consider what we're going to do with the rest. They have no idea of what impact 40R had or will have on the hot wat properties, and we haven't learned anything. So the thing is that traffic, parking, and congestion and densities has been an issue from the beginning. So
yeah, so I'll just sum this up. So I think the discussion so far, and there's been a number of workshops that residents were invited to and could offer comments, but for the most part, these workshops have shown colorful artist renderings of nice streetscapes.
You want to show the clips?
Sure, we'll show
Clip 10.
just to refresh your memory about the scale of these overlays. This is the downtown Maple Street in the square. There's the pink is the commercial one, and then the upper left-hand square is for the commercial 1A, and the green stripe, the horizontal bar across the top is the rail trail, and the green box at the bottom is the High Street Cemetery, just to kind of give you a perspective of what's in play here. So
basically, you're going all the way from the old abandoned firehouse there where the ambulance is. You're going all the way down to what? Almost all the way down to 128.
Yeah, down to Hunt Street. So it's quite a large area, a couple hundred acres, I'm thinking. But if we can look at the next...
Well, could I ask a question before we move off of this? What's the difference between C and C1 or C1A?
I think it's what type of commercial activity is allowed. I think the C1A is office space.
Okay.
But it depends, because there's a lot of things going on in there that are by right. So up in the upper left-hand corner is Townsend Oil. So
right.
A lot of these activities have been grandfathered in.
Because
but I'm not sure what the nuances are between the two exactly.
Because this covers basically a lot of the residential areas
Yes.
that are adjacent to it. I mean, you know, they're going to remain residential unless we're going to let everybody build out 3 or 4 story buildings.
Yeah, but you have a situation where you have some single family houses, and obviously a developer is going to come in and dump all the single families and put in multiple families.
Right.
You're going to have 3-story condos with 200 or 300 apartments in them and everything like that. It just is unbelievable.
Right. So if we can look at the other overlay, which is this is today it's industrial 1. So it allows activities like machine shops and car washes, storage facilities, and so what's planned here, and if you look at the upper right-hand corner, that green area, that was what I mentioned, that section is 75 high, so it's not really built out in this rendering, but it's possible to put several hundred units in there, similar to like the Swing Away project.
Right.
So
is this the property that's adjacent to the water and sewer garage?
it is, yes.
So maybe the town is looking at purchasing that land back there as a DPW garage. So that may be a possibility. So I think we need to attend the next planning board meeting.
Yeah, I think.
Because they're going to have to adjust a little bit, because this 40R is not paying out to the town, so they've already been rejected, and that's because of the possibility of not having enough density of residential.
Yeah.
That's primarily why they're doing it.
And part of the conversation has only been to glorify the benefits of this, but when there's not really been any discussion about what are the pitfalls, like what's the worst case scenario for total build out, because when developers see this type of opportunity, they start salivating.
Right.
And even with today, with our zoning, like table 2 that defines what the densities are, that developers can go to the ZBA and say that they have some type of hardship, either with a financial hardship or topography of the land, and they can get variances or special permits to overbuild even today. So who knows what's possible with these overlays? It can be above and beyond what's going to be defined or allowed.
And one of my issues has been that if these developers are waiting in the wings, where have they been for the last 25 years? The current activity in downtown is on Maple Street,
and Cherry Street.
third
There was some
story that they'll
comments.
be adding, and also on Locust Street, which
Yeah.
they've just about completed that. And that was done without a zoning change. That was done by a special permit.
Yeah, those were done by case basis. So at the selectmen's meeting, there was also mention about some of the development on Cherry Street where there is no real open space on the properties. It's either a structure or it's parking. So after this past snowstorm, the snow wasn't removed from the site as was required. It was just pushed out into the street, and now you have these huge piles on the corners and on the sidewalks. So there's no real enforcement with that, even though there are bylaws that prohibit it, that kind of. So
Look
we'll
the
just
other way.
we'll continue to see more of this as the downtown gets more built out, because I think this is only the beginning.
Well, the only there was a solution or a proposal made by Bill Nicholson at the last workshop, is basically that he would rather see a zoning change instead of an overlay like they're planning to do, because the zoning change will define exactly what can or cannot be done. With an overlay, you've got many layers of different functions that can be built or developed.
Well, that was the real purpose of this, was basically they're opening the door and they're saying, do whatever you want to do.
Right.
They're trying to attract development. More development means more buildings, means more taxes and more income. And that goes back to what we were talking about when the show started. They're interested in income because they're spending money.
Yeah. And it also is going to require more money for infrastructure improvements, water, sewer, electric.
Streets and sidewalks.
And also with increased dwelling units, you have probably more children, so more impact to schools in terms of requirements for additional classrooms, teachers, and other support staff.
And the school budget at the present time is the biggest section of the budget, isn't it?
60% of the budget.
Yeah.
Now, they hide it very well
Well,
in the DPW and grounds and everything
Yeah.
else, but it's 60% of the budget. So the thing is, I think the town manager is absolutely right that the $80.6 million that they can collect from the tax revenue is already consumed. So now, well, maybe they'll take salary cuts or something like that. That may be something innovative.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's move on. One of the things that I wanted to bring up in relationship to this 40R or zoning change and overlay is, without a economic engine of employment, transportation, or access to parking, this whole proposal fails. Fails in the respect that if we do not have a transportation hub similar to what Beverly has or Salem has, they are located on a rail line, or they have bus service that is provided by the MBTA. We seem to be struggling even with the proposed, special service that they are providing from Beverly Railroad Station to the Cherry Hill Park. And that's being funded by a state grant. That without a transportation hub, without a transportation mobility of people within the town and in between the towns, we're not.
We're just auto-centric. We're all dependent on
We're
motor vehicles.
Absolutely, and that's how it's going to stay unless there's a change. So my my reasoning behind this is that the current status of business, it doesn't matter. You can build and overbuild. It's not redevelopment. It's overdevelopment right now. That's what's being planned. What are the other communities doing? The only example I can point out to is Beverly, Rantoul Street, Cabot Street. It's built 6, 7, 8 stories high. Is that what we want Danvers to become? Danvers, what are the other communities doing about improving business climate? We even stopped the business Monday morning meetings that we've had with the economic development department in our town. There is no communication. This proposal is going to give the town a boost in the number of housing units, but how are these people going to get around? Where are they going to go to school? How are they going to transport themselves from work? The jobs are not here in Danvers.
Yeah, well, we need to attract companies that are interested in being locally rather than being based in Boston.
We haven't extended that outreach.
We need to get away from depending on retail businesses to support the tax base from a commercial perspective, and look at more kind of high tech or service-based business industries.
Well, just to give you a little indication, the staff at Town Hall, and I won't name names, has declined to discuss the status of business in Danvers. So I don't know where their head is, but it's not with the business community, because without employment and industrial production or anything related to employment, we're just becoming a bedroom community, and parking, traffic, and schools are going to get congested. So the last thing I want to do is, John has a story that he wants to do. We've been trying to do this for three filmings, but we'll do this one. Clip number 12.
Okay, this is just a little clip. Danvers High football coach, Ryan Nolan. He was presented the Patriots Coach of the Week award. Pro Football Hall of Famer Andrew Tippett, he presented Nolan with the New England Coach of the Week award from the Patriots football game group. And I think this is, it's one of the things. He's a great guy. His reputation is, he has the dedication to helping his players advance to the next level. His players feel that he can be approached with any problem. He's a great coach, and it's a great award.
Well, we need to congratulate him on getting this award, and Danvers is a sports town. I don't care what you say. We have the greenest fields, we have the best facilities in the field house and in the gyms, so I think we should all be proud of that. And our coach is representing the town very well. He's using his development as a coach. He seems to have a lot of respect from the community and from his teams.
Yes, he spreads his abilities around quite a bit. And Danvers is a great place to live.
It is.
It's a nice place to raise children. And this is a good example.
John, tell me one thing. I was reading in the paper, my electronic version, the Toomeys dedicated the Christmas tree. Who is the Toomeys that are dedicating this Christmas tree to the town?
Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you a quickie, the Toomeys, okay?
Yeah.
I've been told that my particular branch back in the 1850s, back in when they had all the potato famine and everything over there. They hopped aboard a boat, sailed over here to Canada, walked from Canada all the way down to Danvers because they had either a friend or a relative who had some farmland, and they were employed as farmers. Well, obviously, over since the 1800s, my section of the family more or less spread around. Well, basically, when I was growing up, there were two different families of Toomeys, T-O-O and T-W-O.
Oh, okay.
I'm T-O-O. And my father was, oh, they're not related to us. They can't even spell their name right. And when my brother went over and did some reviewing and digging, he found out that there are 9 different ways to spell Toomey. And basically, we're all related. He traced it all, supposedly all the Toomeys came from the same town, same village in Ireland.
Hey, John, we're all related one way or another to way back.
Well, that's the nice part of it. The Toomeys kept coming over for hundreds of years. And that's the great part about this country. And it's a great part about this town.
Gotta build a wall, keep the Toomeys out.
And it was very nice that they had a tree, and 35 years ago they planted it, it grew up, it's big, and they started having problems with it. So they donated it to the town. And the town, actually, they what was it, yesterday or today, they put it up in Danvers Square, the downtown, and it's going to be our Christmas tree.
It looks pretty good. I went by it this afternoon, and
They're starting to decorate it, and they'll have a celebration, and it will be nice. And I
this
really can
Saturday,
say
I
how
think,
proud
right?
I am that it's the Toomey tree.
Toomey tree. Well, what I like to do is, we're coming close to the holidays, Christmas and New Year's. And what we're going to try and do is relax a little bit on December 19th and sort of share some stories like we did last year, John, in regard to Christmas, how we celebrate it. We do not have empty gifts, I hope, like this. But we would like to invite any comments from our audience. And closing comments, Matthew, anything that you would like to say?
No, I just for this past snowstorm, I thought that the town did a very good job with getting ahead of it right from the very beginning, and the streets looking good.
They did a great job, in my neighborhood at least. John?
Yeah, I think, as I've said, Danvers is a great town to live in, and we're doing very well. And I think we should, more or less, as much as I sometimes don't agree with the selectmen, I like to pat them on the back too. Things are doing very well.
All right, guys, just get moving and get some of these issues solved for us and for our residents. We'll see you on December 19th, and we'll announce the time. Thank you very much. Good night.